Found footage, the awkward stepchild of the horror movie genre. Now personally, I'm a pretty big fan of found footage. It's what got me interested in making home videos. Me and my cousin would use his blue iPod Nano to record shitty little movies about some mud monster in the woods. Takes me back. See, found footage is kind of hard to get into at its core. It's a lot of shaky cams and bad acting, but when done correctly, it's a phenomenal vehicle used to terrify people. Go back and look at the reactions to Paranormal Activity, or The Blair Witch, or my god, Cannibal Holocaust. The director of that movie was arrested and charged with murdering the actors in the film. It got so bad they had to bring them into court to get the charges dropped. Now, he probably should have been charged for something, but I digress. Point being, found footage can make for a fun avenue for unique storytelling. For example, Be My Cat is one of the most genuinely unsettling things that I've ever sat through, and I love it. It's a magnificent, frightening film that wouldn't work in anything other than found footage. If this was just a straight-up Steadicam film going from scene to scene, no. It can even work outside of the traditional horror confines, like Chronicle, a fun film that utilizes the medium for some really cool stuff. Could you imagine if this was shot like a Marvel movie? Yikes central. I can go on and on about my favorites. The Bay, Cloverfield, Lizzie McGuire, but my love for found footage can be traced back to a little-known TV series called Lost Tapes. Ever heard of it? A mockumentary-style show that depicted scenarios where people were attacked by mysterious, dangerous, and deadly paranormal cryptids. The Jersey Devil, Bigfoot, the Megaconda. Seriously, the influence this show had on me cannot be understated. It introduced me to low-budget films, cryptids, paranormal investigation, and uncontrollable fear. Seriously, this show scared the piss out of me when I was a little lad. I remember after watching the Dover Demon episode one time too late at night, I made my sister sit outside the bathroom door while I took a shower to keep watch for any intruders. It's a true story. See, I grew up in the middle of nowhere, so this stuff would really freak me out. It all seems so real, which is kind of hard to believe now, but, I was just a dumb kid. Also, how the was the show ever on Animal Planet? Like, in between Big Cat Diaries and Pitbulls and Parolees, we're just gonna show this mockumentary-style show about hunting cryptids? What? Where's my Caesar Milan? Or that one guy who looked like Guy Fieri who would train the cats? Or Tanked? I love Tanked. I miss Tanked. The fact this show ever made it to air is honestly incredible. It's not terrible by any means, just when you think about how much effort it takes to get something made and put on TV, especially at that time, it's kind of inspiring. Makes me want to dive headfirst into content creation, maybe start streaming more, maybe fix my crippling marriage. Maybe. So to celebrate the great month of October, I picked 6 episodes that I remember from when I was a kid. I'm gonna go back and see if they still hold up. Spoilers, probably not. I also watched some of them over on my live stream at twitch.tv/trashcanjohnny. It's what the kids call reacting. If you ever get bored, maybe you can go check that out. Hellhounds, a mysterious creature that is known to wander graveyards looking for its next victim. According to cryptozoologists, if you see one of these beasts 3 times, then you will quickly meet an untimely death. This episode takes place in August of 2005, the same month as Hurricane Katrina. Coincidence? We were taken along a journey to a local graveyard with a group of college kids led by Annabelle Lilith. Yeah, she's pretty cool. The group also features Ophelia, Luna, and Severin. And seeing this young man here makes me wonder, why are goth chicks so hot? Like, every goth chick. But goth dudes just don't work the same. Name one hot goth dude. I'll wait. See? You can. One's never existed. Goth chicks are beautiful angels that have been sent down from the heavens to tempt us mortal men, and goth dudes just kinda look like cat piss. Okay, back to the story. You may be wondering why we're going to a local graveyard. Well, that's to initiate a new member into their group, a young lady named Nora. They go and pick her up, and Annabelle's being a bitch the whole time, and I gotta be honest, I don't know if I've ever fallen in love faster. They blindfold Nora and take her to the graveyard, and on the way she starts calling Annabelle a total poser, being all like, yeah, see, that's not how demons really work. I don't know where you read that, but that's wrong. I swear, by the end of this, we're gonna see a hot vamp fight. They get to the graveyard and the car gets attacked by a pretty little puppy with red eyes. I guess he gets distracted though, cause he kinda just like poofs away. Like I don't know if it was the commercials or what, but he's gone. And our goth soldiers continue on their quest. Annabelle here is wearing some sick white kicks with her long black dress, and I'm not gonna lie, that's a good look. Everyone starts being a big baby, and Annabelle says,
what better way to celebrate life than to be surrounded by death?
I gotta be honest with you, Anne, that doesn't work for me. Anything would be a better way to celebrate life. Maybe grabbing a couple of brewskis with the boys. Maybe someone you love sitting down and making you a nice home-cooked meal. Or sex. Sex is great. Honestly, anything other than being in a graveyard in the middle of the night. As midnight draws closer, the group gather underneath a gravestone and perform an ancient initiation ritual meant to frighten Nora.
So that we may hear the spirits bless this rite with a sign.
But just as the session is getting good, the Hellhound comes back and then once again just disappears. Honestly, this thing shouldn't be called a Hellhound. It should be called Sex with Johnny, because it doesn't last long at all. Everyone wants to go home, but Annabelle says they must finish the ritual because my girl ain't no quitter. Annabelle gives Nora a fake blood concoction and then takes her blindfold off and saying that she has given her the gift of sight. And then we get a nice little surprise.
I give you the gift of sight.
Kiss.
You're one of us.
Kiss.
All right.
Oh my god! Yeah, this dude's reaction. I'm with you, bud. Nora and Goth Boy here are hanging out on some poor sap's gravestone, and she asks him how many times he saw the dog. Right as he's about to respond, the Hellhound cockblocks my man and chases him through the graveyard. They find a hiding spot, and Nora tells Severin not to open his eyes. Oh yeah, I forgot this guy's name is Severin. Did I mention that? It's not important. After getting nose to nose with Severin, the dog decides that he does not like the smell of Goth Boy and he leaves the two lovebirds alone. They go to the rest of the group and they find that Ophelia has hurt her leg while running away from the Hellhound. See kids, that's why you should always stretch before performing ancient rituals in a dark graveyard. It's common sense. Nora tells them that the dog is more than just a dog and it's a Hellhound. And if they see it 3 times, then the group is destined to die. Annabelle says that Nora's just trying to scare the group, but they don't buy that, so they make a run for the car. On the way, Luna trips over a stock sound effect and almost gets impaled by broken glass. They make it to the car, but oh no, it won't start. And then it starts. Annabelle calls the group a bunch of babies and kicks them all out of the group as she starts speeding out of the graveyard. But then suddenly, the camera comes back on with this really funny PNG on the screen, and we watch as Nora, with some grape jelly on her arm, gets up and walks away into the darkness. The narrator says that Nora was never seen again, and there were no records of her being registered at the local university. Her true identity remains a mystery to this very day. The other 4 were all pronounced dead at the scene, with sulfur surrounding the area and no signs of a canine ever being found. This one was fun. It was a good one to start off with. The acting was pretty good, and getting to see some hot goth on goth action, shoo, it's getting pretty hot in here. Also, I've been interested in seeing that if anyone from the show ever made it into anything else I'd recognized, and the answer so far is no, they didn't. But the person who played Luna, Amy Klein, was in the very first episode of Wipeout. Here's a clip of her getting hit in the face.
Now here's Amy Klein, a 23-year-old waitress. Check, please.
The Dover Demon, an alleged cryptozoological creature that was sighted on 3 separate occasions in the town of Dover, Massachusetts on April 21st and April 22nd, 1977. It has remained a subject of interest for cryptozoologists ever since. In April 2007, unemployed construction worker, don't know why that's relevant, Chad Hurlis recruited his wife Shanna and his friends Glenn Diffie and Royce Best to shoot a fake video about the Dover Demon as a hoax. It's gonna be some sort of Ed Nettie get-rich-quick scheme, as it's the 30th anniversary of the first sightings of the notorious creature. Glenn tells Chad that his friend has actually seen the creature, and Chad says,
Yeah. Spare me the fairy tale, okay?
Yeah, you might regret that little line about fairy tales here pretty soon, Chad, you unemployed bastard. They pick up Royce and he opens the conversation with, "You got my money?" Cause my man Royce here is a freaking gangster, alright? Money is time and Royce's time is valuable. Apparently Royce is the only one getting paid cause he's the only one who's fat enough to fit into the costume. Badass. Oh yeah, the costume's like not the Dover Demon at all. Like, this is some sort of white Sasquatch. This is what the Dover Demon looks like, and this is the costume. Spot the difference? They get to the woods and Chad says that they have to go deeper so that no one sees them filming. Glenn sees some glowing eyes in the bush before Royce scares them away. As all this is happening, they get ready to go out into the woods and god damn, my boy's packing some heat! Shanna gets mad and Chad says that it's only there for believability and he's only gonna shoot it up into the air because we all know that that's totally safe. So I get why they can't film right next to the car, but they're going like deep into the woods. It's crazy. Chad's like, yeah, we're gonna take a 5-mile hike to go film this silly little video. Bitch, it's the woods. All of these trees look the same. Glenn sees some claw marks on a tree and Chad just goes, yeah, get some good footage of that. That's gonna be awesome. Like, f you, man. Look at this stuff. Glenn starts to film a completely intact rat just painted with a little bit of blood right before he falls off a cliff. Like, the cliff is right there. How did you not notice that? Are you using the viewfinder to walk around? Don't do that, I've made that mistake. Royce gets into costume and Shanna gets done up to look like she's been attacked. As Royce gets into position, Glenn finds the night vision setting and oh my God! Is that Steve Buscemi? Steve! What are you doing? Get down there, man. Adam Sandler's got a new movie for you to be in. I'm joking, but as a kid, this shot, whew, I didn't sleep for weeks. As Chad and Glenn start going over the plan, Shanna starts screaming and saying that she saw the demon, and it's real. So my man Chad just starts shooting off into the darkness. Oh no! Shots fired! Shots fired! I bet he hit the fat guy. 20 bucks. 20 bucks, he hit the fat guy. 20 bucks. Chad decides that the group has to split up and go find Royce. So Chad and Shanna take the camera from Glenn and make him go off all alone in the darkness. God, f you, Chad. No wonder you're an unemployed construction worker. Nobody likes you. After searching for a bit, they find Royce with a gunshot wound in his big old belly, and yeah, I called that. Yeah, dude, he shot Royce! Woo! Royce said that he saw the demon, and it's real. Not so much of a fairy tale now, is it? You little unemployed bastard. I really like that I keep bragging on the fact he's unemployed. To all my unemployed fans out there, get a job, f you. Royce can't move, so Chad's genius plan is to go get the duffel bag and use it to drag Royce back to the car. Yeah. Royce starts crying for them not to leave, but Chad does anyway. Then they get like 5 feet away from him, hear him cry out again, run back, and he's gone. They make a run for it, and Shanna trips over a bloody pair of pants. But not just any pants, Glenn's pants. Glenn's completely, fully intact pants. No rips, no tears, so not only is the Dover Demon a bloodthirsty killer, but he's also a sexual predator. Chad and Shanna continue to make a run for it, but Chad runs off the same cliff as Glenn did earlier and breaks his leg. Shanna comes down to help and she sees this lumpy, bloody mess and says it's a trap. How do you know that? Huh? Maybe it's just some sort of decoration. I'm sorry that we can't all have expensive end tables and recliners that match the sofa, Shanna. That's really judgmental. No wonder your boyfriend's unemployed. Shanna drags Chad towards a hiding spot and turns on the night vision. And that's when it occurs to me that the most unbelievable part of this show is the battery life on this camera. Seriously, I've had to change the battery on my camera twice so far, and these people have just been pissing around in the woods for 5 hours and this thing's still on? Chad starts crying like a little bitch as Shanna sees the creature and takes a shot at it, but misses. Now that's a skill issue. Couldn't be me, I'd win those. The camera cuts off as Chad and Shanna scream into the night. Of the 4 that entered the Dover woods on that fateful night, no one returned, and no bodies were ever found. Now, the ace of this episode, honestly, was Chad. He was so unlikable that I kinda love him. Just a big, lovable doofus that gets his girlfriend and his best friend killed. But we've all been there, right? Right? Werewolves. Do I really need to explain werewolves? Transformations, full moons, furries, you get the idea. So a weird glitch happened in the beginning of this episode where no text appears on screen. No logo at the beginning, no viewer discretion advised, none of it. I'm just curious as to how something like that happens. Seems like it shouldn't be possible, but what do I know? I'm just a silly man. If you know what could cause this, comment down below. That'll get those bastards to engage. Over a period of the past 8 months, a series of homicides have become known as the Beast Killer Murders. Very inventive. Every victim shares a few things. They have all been female and recently seen outside of a local bar. The bodies have all had claw marks, teeth marks, and post-mortem trauma. Plus, the killer leaves behind fur on the bodies. Sounds like a usual Saturday night in New Orleans, am I right? For his first feature film, independent filmmaker Austin Pace is riding along with Sergeants Clifford Warren and Javier Mendoza. They park outside of the bar and Mendoza is undercover, I think? I can't really tell, but he's dressed pretty cool for a cop. He's inside the bar and Clifford the Big Red Fed and Tarantino here are on the outside, watching the perimeter. Mendoza says he thinks he has their guy as he sees a man checking the doors and acting nervous. I don't think it's that weird though, because that's how I am at the bar. Just stanced up against the wall, looking cool and mysterious, hoping that a pretty lady notices me. But they never do. Mendoza says he isn't alone though, because he's with a baddie just a little bit out of his league. Austin asks what the profile is, and Clifford says 25 to 45-year-old white male loner. And once again, I feel like they're just describing me. Seriously, it's starting to hurt, and I wish they would stop. The suspect leaves the bar, and our Cape Crusaders follow him to a local residence. They watch as the girl is stumbling up the front steps, and they think he may have drugged her. But obviously, they haven't had a long night out with the boys. They run his license plate and find out that he has a history of assault with a deadly weapon, and domestic violence. But who doesn't these days? Am I right, fellas? Clifford goes to get a better look at the house and hears a woman scream for help. Mendoza tells Austin to stay in the van while he goes to give Clifford backup. But my boy Austin here isn't going to let the law get in the way of his artistic vision. So he follows as Mendoza kicks the door down and enters the house. Inside, they find a broken window covered in fur and bloody paw prints all over the kitchen, but no sign of a dog. Mendoza goes to check the basement and they find some woman hiding behind the furnace with red crayon all over her face. So they ask her what happened and she just goes, like, okay, just trying to do our jobs here, ma'am. Mendoza goes to check on our favorite good boy cop and tells Austin to stay with the girl. Yeah, the independent filmmaker, without a weapon. He'll make sure that this girl stays safe. He asks her what her name is and she says Sophie. What a beautiful name. Mendoza finds Clifford and they continue to search the house together when they find the suspect dead in the exact same way as the other victims. And the plot thickens. The two officers run back downstairs, hoping to get there before it's too late, and...
Back away from the girl.
Why?
Get away from her now! Back away!
Austin is killed by Sophie, Warren and Mendoza resign from the force, and the case remains open to this day. And just like in real life, the real monster was a woman. The Wendigo, an evil spirit of Native American folklore that is created when a person succumbs to cannibalistic urges. This episode opens with recovered footage of a group of campers lost in the woods. Over 14 days, it shows one man's descent into madness. But one funny thing though, on day 10, one of the men have a squirrel and he's preparing to eat it. And everyone else is like, oh, what gross. We're not animals. A squirrel? Really? If you think that's gross, wait until he starts pissing on the toilet seat. Am I right, ladies? Men. In September of 2009, a search and rescue team is dispatched to find a group of inexperienced campers lost in the Appalachian wilderness. The team was assembled by lead evaluator Shelby Nash and included veteran tracker Porter Voss and paramedic Trent Dorsey, who was on his first rescue effort. Fun fact, the gentleman who played Porter Voss, Graham Clark, also played a doctor in one of my favorite episodes of Always Sunny, Psycho Pete Returns. So here's to you, brother, hoping you make it out alive. The lost campers are college-aged kids who went out for spring break, but haven't been seen in over 2 weeks. Now, this whole time, I'm thinking that this is not how search and rescue can really be, right? Like, no ATVs, no helicopters, just 3 people walking around with their people feet. They get deep into the woods and they hear a wail that sounds like a person, so they decide to go towards it, which is their first mistake. But it does lead them to the camp, which is torn apart with no one to be seen. Just a little bit of blood on the outside of a tent. They send Dorsey, the new guy, to a nearby creek to fill up all 3 of their waters, but obviously he gets lost. 'Cause he's the new guy. I know everyone in horror is supposed to be stupid, and that's just the way it works, but this show takes it to another level. Like, oh yeah, the paramedic who has no history of traversing the woods, take all of our water and go half a mile that way. We'll be fine. As he does that, Voss and Nash search the camp and they find a body that has been torn to pieces. Voss says that the body is inconsistent with a bear attack as it's too vicious, and I'm sorry, I'm not a professional, but a bear attack seems pretty fucking vicious, am I right? Dorsey is out just chasing butterflies or whatever when he gets attacked by the Wendigo, and I have a lot to say about you later. The other 2 have been searching for so long that now it's nighttime. They find a cave and girl boss here lights a flare, and it just occurred to me that lighting a flare looks like one of the most badass things ever. Like, I don't care how uncool you are, lighting a flare just looks so sick. You could be Walt Jr. just clickety-clacking through that cave, but if he had a flare, I hope those legs can swim, because he's gonna be drowning in bitches. Inside of the cave, they find one of the campers, Lane, wielding a spear. They ask her why she was hiding and why she didn't respond when they were yelling, and she said that the creature can mimic human speech. She explains to her heroes that after they ran out of food on the trail, things got really bad, and we are shown more recovered footage. On day 11, Lane finds Matthew eating a squirrel, raw and alive, and I'm pretty sure that's not how you're supposed to do that. On day 12, April breaks her leg and Lane just kind of pushes it right back in. And once again, I'm not sure that's how you're supposed to do that. On day 13, Matthew tells Lane that he feels weird. It's like there's an itch inside of his head that he can't scratch. And a little tip for all of my young ones out there, if you ever hear someone say that, might want to get to running. Lane asks where Vince is, the other friend, I guess, and Matthew deflects by saying that they need to talk about April. Matthew then goes on to suggest killing and eating April, which pisses Lane off. Obviously. Later on day 13, Lane goes looking for April and finds Matthew eating her, and that's like the second worst thing you can find your boyfriend doing with your best friend. We come back to the present with Lane sleeping, which is fucking insane. How can you sleep at a time like this? Voss goes out to look for Dorsey and he finds his stuff hanging up in the tree before he is also attacked by the Wendigo. Then the Wendigo goes to the cave and chases the girls, but somehow they manage to get away. But while they are running, Lane trips and hurts her leg. While Nash tries to help, she hears a voice calling out for her, and she goes to investigate. Once again, stupid. Nash finds Dorsey with his face ripped off, and then she gets attacked by the Wendigo. Lane finds both bodies and she records her final message like she's Walter White. And that's the second Breaking Bad reference in the same section. The episode ends with Lane crying over the bodies before the Wendigo comes up and kills her too. Despite the video evidence, the death of the 3 rescuers were attributed to black bear attacks. That's right, the of the bear world. Real quick, 2 interesting things about this episode. Number 1, the design of this thing is my favorite of the series so far. It's so simple, and that's what makes it great. Like, this guy really just killed a deer and then wore its head. It's so fucking brutal and effective, and it's a standout for this series. I love it. Number 2, an interesting theory brought up by Professor of Psychology Kevin Volkin, PhD, is Wendigo psychosis. The theory states that when somebody is trapped or isolated with other people for very long periods of time, they may start to develop the belief that they are going to turn into a monster and cannibalize the people around them. Even though they may have plenty of provisions and food, they get these intrusive thoughts of wanting to eat their friends, and that's fucking crazy. The Jersey Devil, a legendary beast that is native to Jersey. The legend says that Mother Lead had 12 children, and when she found out she was to have a 13th, she said, "Let it be the devil." And sure enough, she gave birth to a terrifying creature that killed the nurses and flew through the chimney, destined to haunt the Pine Barrens for the rest of time. In the summer of 2006, Greg and Wendy Stark took their 2 daughters, Joey and Christina, for a day trip to the Jersey Shore. The trip took place just a few weeks before Wendy was to welcome the newest member of their family. Yeah, she be having sex. Although it was a fun day with the fam out on the beach, a last-minute decision to take the scenic route home led them right into the waiting hands of the 3rd most evil thing to come from New Jersey, right behind John Bon Jovi and the Joker. That's right, Gotham is usually a fictional city set in New Jersey. Doesn't that feel weird? Could you imagine Joey Diaz being Bruce Wayne? Like, "What's going on, cocksuckers? I'm Batman." While the girls are arguing in the backseat, the dad hits something in the road and the dog Cooper, a very good boy, jumps through the front seat and makes a run for it. The dad goes to find Cooper and leaves his 2 daughters and his pregnant wife alone in the middle of nowhere. Great idea, big guy. 2 hours later and Greg still hasn't come back, so the mom and daughters go search for him. After walking for a while, they find Greg's hat covered in blood and hear an animal growling, so they obviously start running, and they run until they find an old abandoned house. The mom knocks and goes, "Anybody home?" Like, no. Does it look like anyone's been home since 1937? The last time someone was in this house, women still couldn't vote. The good days, if you ask me. The youngest daughter starts freaking out because of the graffiti all over the place, and come on. Have you never seen an abandoned house? Act like you've been here before, alright? You're embarrassing us. The dad finds the house and busts through the door and tells the girls to go hide because something is following him. The girls start to hide, but they hear a dog crying outside, which means that Cooper died. Whoa. You lost tapes. The beast busts through the door and the little girls hide in a closet. And then... You've had a fucking phone this whole time? What are you doing? And who's calling you? Could you imagine Grandma on the other line just, oh, I hope they're okay? No, they're not okay. And because of your mistakes, they're gonna get massacred and you're gonna get put in a home, you old bitch. But because Grandma wanted to talk to her little grandbabies, these kids are about to become devil dinner until the pregnant mom comes in and makes the save with a plank of wood. And she beats up the Jersey Devil. This mother, who's so pregnant that she's about to pop, beat up the Jersey Devil. Anyways, the mom goes into labor and she doesn't want to have the baby in an abandoned house because apparently she's just too good for that. They make her run for it, find the car, and execute a grand escape. The Starks family drag themselves to a local hospital and Wendy gives birth to a healthy baby boy. They reported the encounter to police, but after investigating, they never found evidence of the creature. Also, they never found Cooper. Rest in peace, Cooper. Fun fact about this episode, one of the common culprits for the Jersey Devil is this thing, called the Sandhill Crane. But that's just what the man wants you to think. I don't believe that for a minute. The Jersey Devil's real. I've seen it. It was a dark night, and I saw this little Jersey goblin with bloodshot eyes and a piercing voice. He was small, he was angry, he was mean, and he had a thirst for blood. That day, he attacked Ray Liotta. All because Ray Liotta thought he was funny, and he was funny. He was being funny. Why? I think I'm thinking of Joe Pesci. The Vampire. An undead, blood-sucking beast that has been around for centuries. And also, the sexiest creature on the show so far. Maybe behind the werewolf. It's a close second. Now, I have some very vivid memories of this episode, and I completely forgot about it until I rewatched it, and brother, all that fear came flooding back. So hold on to your urine, because you're in for a scare. Also, according to IMDb trivia, this is the highest rated episode, so high hopes. This episode opens with an attack outside of a convenience store. Another incident related to a rash of murders and mysterious disappearances in the area. And 3 months later, we are introduced to our main characters, the Redding family. After losing his job to economic downsizing, Dennis moved his wife Sarah and their 9-year-old son Eddie into this lovely fixer-upper. Because that's what you did back then. You lost your job and you bought a house. I have a job, I still can't buy a fucking house. Why do you think I'm using this green screen? I'm underneath the freeway, can't you hear it? They needed an excuse to put a camera in the little boy's bedroom so that the parents didn't seem like creeps, so they say that he has a sleepwalking problem. Eddie's in the bedroom playing with his stuffed bear when he hears a creepy noise and the closet door starts to open. Just as he goes to investigate, the mom comes in and the boy starts protesting the camera being in his bedroom. He says that he's a big kid. You know, the big kid that was just talking to his bear. That's like me saying that I'm not completely addicted to crystal meth, and I can stop anytime I want to. I just don't want to. Also, the bear's name is Ruggles, and honestly, best character in the series. Comment below if you f*** with Ruggles. We jump to nighttime and we watch as a creature comes out of the closet and takes Ruggles. But why though? If this thing's a vampire, then why not just, you know... The kid starts freaking out and he tells his parents that there's a monster in the closet. But of course, the parents don't take him seriously. Now, this is when I realized that I would not be a very good parent. Because if my kid came to me and said there's a monster in his closet, I'd be like, are you f***ing serious? Babe, pack the car, get the bags, we're leaving, we're getting out of here. The dad says that it's just a bunch of raccoons and the exterminator will be there tomorrow, which is not how exterminators work. By the time an exterminator gets there, the termites are gonna eat your entire house, okay? The next morning, the boy grabs his camera. He's got a camera, I forgot to mention that. But he grabs his camera and he goes looking for Ruggles, because my man's a real one. No bear left behind. The boy's closet looks like it just leads to a giant drop, and I don't think that's entirely safe for a kid that's known for sleepwalking. The mom ends up finding Ruggles torn to pieces, and now this is the second time that they have killed an animal companion that I've been fond of. Once again, you lost tapes. Also, we see this really cool squirrel. The boy goes to the basement and he finds the exterminator snake camming a wall. The exterminator pretty much tells the kid to f*** off though, because he's got rats to kill. But buddy, These ain't no rats. He ends up getting pulled through the wall, and I don't know how nobody heard that. Like, it seemed pretty loud. They couldn't just show a clip of the mom vacuuming or something. Just give us an excuse. Sounds like Neil Peart's playing a drum solo down there, and everyone's just like... A few hours later, the mom asks where the exterminator is because his van's still outside, and the dad says that he hasn't seen him all day. And these people are not meant to have a mansion. How do you not know where the service person is? When I have someone doing work in my house, I'm just right around the corner like, I'm not letting you out of my sight. The dad pulls a let's split up gang as he sends the son to the basement and he goes and looks up in the attic. The boy goes to the basement, goes to the hole in the wall, finds the vampire's nest, and sees the exterminator covered in blood and goes, "Are you okay?" Like, no, you little run! Get out of there! What is wrong with you? And of course, he gets caught. And he gets chased up the stairs. The dad tries to hold the basement door shut, but the vampire just breaks it down. As the mom and son are running, they see a second vampire and they run upstairs. The dad follows them and they start to barricade the door, but that's not enough to keep the unrelenting forces of evil at bay. They start to break the door down, but dad has a plan. He uses a piece of wood from the broken door and he stabs one of the vampires. And it works. Just have the balls to kill the family. It'd be more meaningful. Also, stabbing one vampire kills them all? I guess dad just got lucky and killed the OG vampire. Huh. The family survives the encounter, except for Ruggles, and the exterminator's body is found suspiciously devoid of all blood. Ooh. This episode actually rules. I was not expecting it to hold up as good as it did. The design of the creatures is honestly awesome, and if it wasn't for the Wendigo already happening, this would be top tier. This was a real shocker. I really liked this episode. This might be in my permanent Halloween rotation. Probably not, but you never know. Now that was a lot. Whew, I'm exhausted, but it can't be overstated how ahead of the curve this show was. When I think of some of my favorite content on the internet right now, it really falls into the same category as lost tapes. Mockumentary, unfiction, ARGs. I'm a sucker for the Mandela Catalog, Local 58, Gemini Home Entertainment. And I can really feel the seeds of those projects being grown right here. Cheap, independent, but made with love. I had a really fun time doing this, and there's still so much to watch that we didn't get to go over. My original plan was to watch the entire series and rank every episode. Luckily, I realized how long of a video that would be. Seriously, hover down over the timeline. Go on, do it. Yeah. Now imagine me doing the whole show. God, I'd look like that one girl from the drug PSA. Drained. But I would like to do more episodes. Let me know below your memories of this show. Maybe give me some recommendations for next year. And thank you for watching. Seriously, it means a lot if you made it to the end of this dumb video that I made. Like, genuinely, thank you so much. I hope you stick around for the next one. Bye. Seriously, go away. Video's over. I don't know how to finish videos. Everyone's got catchphrases, but I don't feel like being a catchphrase guy. What would my catchphrase be, huh? Stay trashy, YouTube. No, that's bad. I feel gross just for that coming out of my mouth. I need to take a shower. That felt disgusting. What are you still doing here?